tonight what we're here is to welcome a very special guest at this kind of special version of the Mayor's Business Roundtable. Ordinarily, we don't meet in this kind of an environment for the Business Roundtable, but we're kind of doing things different this year because of a very special project. So tonight, I just wanted to make clear one thing. This is not about the ADOT Bell Grand Interchange project. It's about a public art project. It's about something truly unique and the potential for doing something truly unique for the city of Surprise. We anticipate that ADOT will indeed hold public meetings about the project itself, the construction schedule, and those kinds of things in the near future. But tonight, we're here to talk about the potential for doing something really big and really unique for the city of Surprise. Something that can really be a testament to the power of public art and art itself in the world of economic development. Now, we all know the city of Surprise is a growing community, a vibrant community as it stands today. But we also know that we can even grow it to be more vibrant and more sustainable. And one of the focuses that we've always had as a council is that we want to bring jobs and economic opportunity to our city. And what's one of the first things that business locates come and ask us about? Tell us about your art and cultural community. Tell us about that. And unfortunately, as most of us know, the city of Surprise suffered some grave setbacks. During the economic downturn, we suffered the loss of two very important institutions in our city. Today, we have recovered because we've replaced two more public art institutions into our community. So with the West Valley Arts Council, Arts HQ, now being in the community of Surprise, and WHAM, which is a very important public group that just started from the ground up and just with so much determination has created a very, very important component of the arts community here and a wonderful home for some of the most talented artists in the valley. So Surprise is lucky because we have some of the most gifted artists right here in the city of Surprise and in our neighboring communities. And so what better place to create something as a community that will bring us all together as a business community, as an arts community, as an economic development engine. This is an opportunity for all of us. And so tonight, I wanted to talk about the vision that this council has for the future of the city of Surprise. Most of you know that we've been divided for many years by a highway, Grand Avenue, and a railroad track. It's divided us from our origin, our beginnings in the original town site, and then the second part of our community. You can think about it in concentric, lined up along Bell Road. A square mile, our original town site. A square mile, that is our present, which is our business district, our retail district. And then the square mile that we're sitting in the middle of today in our downtown, our new future downtown. That's our beginnings, our present, and our future, all lined up. And this project, the Bell Grand Interchange, has the opportunity to actually not only physically but symbolically reunite the beginnings to the present and to the future. It's a great opportunity. And so one of the things that we heard from our community that was concerned about putting something as big and massive as this as this interchange at the front door was that they were concerned about the impact on our businesses, and they were concerned about the impact on the look of our community. Because after all, Bell and Grand is our front door. It's a very important front door. It's a very important gateway to the community of Surprise. And so what do you do to your front door? You paint it the prettiest color you can think of. You make it a really attractive and inviting gateway to your home. And that's what we're trying to do now by doing something truly unusual, something that is a landmark. And the MAG Regional Council, the MAG is our Metropolitan Planning Organization, is a partner in this effort because they too want to see the city of Surprise help identify this particular corridor along the Grand Avenue as something truly unique and special. And what a great opportunity to develop business and economic opportunity along this unique corridor. So thinking about that vision and thinking about what we could do, and all of us have seen how very successful ADOT has been with doing some very unique treatments to concrete in our roadways along the 101, along the 303, 202, all throughout the region. We've seen very interesting and different treatments that are specialized to that particular community. But somewhere along the way, it occurred to us that imprinted concrete was simply not good enough for the front door of the city of Surprise. We wanted to do something truly special. So while we're all thinking about this, one day I was taking a trip down to, as we all do, as we start to downsize, we take a little trip to our kids and we take all of our stuff and we drop it off at our children's house. And I was driving through Shreveport, Louisiana, and out of the side of my eye, I saw a glimpse of the most magnificent piece of public art I have ever seen. It gave me goosebumps. I dropped off the furniture, I drove 2 hours back, and I got out of the car and I looked at this beautiful building. It's called Once in a Millennium Moon, and I know that she'll show you a photograph of that particular art project. But this art project was done in the community of Shreveport to celebrate the millennium, and was done as a community art project. And I believe it still stands as the record of the largest public art project. One of the largest public art projects, at least at the time that it was crafted. I think it was certainly the largest public art project. So it is truly magnificent, but what we have in mind here in the City of Surprise will be even larger. And so this is something that requires a great deal of community effort. This is all about bringing all of us together at the very beginning, in the front end. I met Meg for the first time this morning at 10 o'clock, and she's been on a dead run since, trying to immerse herself into the city. She's met every one of our council members, and she's now here this evening to meet you, the leaders of our community. And we so appreciate you being here to join us in this very special effort. So I want to tell you that Meg is a very, very talented and gifted artist who has done projects around the world and is continuing to do projects around the world. And she wants to share those with you today and talk about the art of the possible. So with that, Meg, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, and thank you so much for being here.
I just want to start by thanking everybody for coming tonight. I'm honored to be presenting to you. I will begin. If anybody has any questions as I go along, you can feel free to raise your hand, give a holler out. I'd always welcome talking with you rather than at you. But I will begin by going through some of the past projects so you get an idea of who I am, and then we can move into what I believe are a lot of wonderful possibilities for Surprise. We'll begin with Common Threads in Philadelphia. This is a landmark mural. This was a building in Center City, Philadelphia, before the mural happened on it. And this is the building after the mural was done. This, here I am at the bottom, so you get an idea of scale. This is an all painted surface. There's some trompe l'oeil from the other side of the building. I got the idea because I was working in North Philadelphia, and I noticed how the students at the high school all had very elaborate hairdos, and they were reminding me of 18th century figurines. So that was the initial idea, and then I thought if these kids from Center City, Philadelphia were looking like these European old ladies, perhaps we all had more in common than we thought. So this was sort of a re-imaging of the students in the school. Here you will see it coming along. This one I painted actually all by myself. It was one of my first large ones. So you can see the sketch beginning on the wall and the detail of the paint coming. This was one of the actual students who was there. She had a certain way of walking in the school, and for some reason, she stopped me. I asked her to take her picture, and she actually ended up becoming a Clinton presidential scholar about 5 years later. So it was wonderful working with the student body here. Now, Once in a Millennium Moon is a project that the mayor referred to. It was funded by the National Endowment of the Arts for the millennium, for the year 2000. This is a picture of the mural. It is 4 times as big as the last one that I showed you. So this is an extremely large one. We're the little spots at the top of the building up there, if you see us. The thing that I thought was so interesting about the theme of the millennium was how small we were in comparison to 1,000 years. So I asked everybody in the city if you could save one thing in your house and it would remain here 1,000 years later for people to find, what would it be? So this mural is made up of all the objects and stories and people that came in response to that question. It was 240 feet tall. It would take us 20 minutes to ride the swing stage up it, and it's the Southwest Communication Center for AT&T, actually. And that's why it has, usually the communication centers, the technology buildings are the ones with no windows, because they either want to be anonymous or they're protecting their equipment, so they make great mural walls. This will be a brief run-through on the process that we used for this mural. We began by priming it, and priming down the whole wall. Then as you see, the sketch comes in. Some of this mural was painted on cloth. This was the first baby born in the city of Shreveport in the year 2000. And you'll see in this next picture how some of it was painted. One of the mayor not the mayor of the city, the head of the arts organization that brought me in said, the requirement of this project is 2,000 people need to paint it for the millennium year, and the mural needs to look like your work. We don't want it to look like 2,000 people painted it. So I thought, and as a public artist, I think you're trying to put together a set of variables and make it a win for the project, for a world-class work of art. So I devised a system. It's sort of a paint by number system where people could paint on the cloth, and then we put the cloth up. And that system is now industry standard. It's done all over, actually. So here is paint coming in. The other side of the wall, you can see us here on the swing stage going up the wall. That's a 70-foot swing stage. I like this shot because when people say, how do you get it to look so good? When you're painting big, some of it is really, there's no secret. We get down, we look, we struggle, this looks good, this doesn't. It's a very large, we like to remember that they're very large handmade creations. Some details. This actual side of the building, we opened it up to a question that ran in the newspaper, is what was this girl going to hold? And then people were allowed to vote. So it was a collective choice of what she was going to hold. And it ended up being this flame ball that came in with a poem from one of the artists in the city. This project coming up was a citywide project in Philadelphia. It was actually, it's on Interstate 76. It was in partnership with PennDOT there. This is, you go down and you're coming into the city. It was a project about altered signage. So what we did was we went to different sites around the city and eavesdropped on people's conversations. This was quite a sight to work over. And then we put the words that we heard onto altered signage throughout the city. And in the large mural over the expressway, we hid all the words. This was another building that we altered. Oh, this is an interesting one. The 3 most repeated nouns that we heard in all of our eavesdropping, we ran it through a computer program in Philadelphia, were mom, home, and cash. Isn't that? I wonder what would it be the same in Surprise? I don't know. I'm dying to do that somewhere else. We could, but and then we hid look for the art on the signs. And this, if you're stuck in the signage, there's lots of this image. You can't see it because this is the faraway shot. It's just you see this as you're driving by. But we also, in the words, every once in a while, someone will come up to me and say, if you can read this, you're stuck in traffic. And I'm like, you were stuck in traffic in front of my mural. Because we had all sorts of words for people to read if they were ever there and stuck. This is a project that was done in 2011, this next one. It's centered on, it's called Evolving Face, and it's centered on nursing in Philadelphia. Now, the reason why I'm showing this is because it was one mural by day, and at night, it is actually accompanied by a light show. So here, let me see if this will play. So this goes on and has different segments and sequences, and it really activates that intersection at nighttime. Let me just see. Okay. This next work is the largest one I have done to date. It's 8 stories tall by a football field long. This was the building before. This sat right in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska, and it was in an up-and-coming part of the city, but they couldn't get around the fact that there was this big water treatment plant sitting right in the middle of all of their development. So this is the after of the city. It's called Fertile Ground. It's about convergence. There's a lot of convergence in Omaha. It's the dead center of the country. It's also about depth. If you notice, it's designed so that the people from the past are in the back of the composition, and as they walk toward, they come more towards the contemporary. You really get an idea of scale here. Here is our paint buckets missing. Here we're painting on the inside again on the cloth. And for this one, you really you don't get an idea of scale, so I put this in. It's always, in the pictures, I never let me show this to you rolling so you get an idea it probably takes 5 minutes to walk down this wall. And you should also know that everything that you see in the projects is from the site where the painting is. So if it's an object, it's from the city where it is or the site where it is. If it's a piece of grass, it's from that area. If it's a person, it is taken from the site. That's important to me, to cull from the environment and the place where the artwork will reside. These next slides, I want to show you, we have a full studio in Center City, Philadelphia, and I have great joy, and we do wonderful things collaborating with project partners depending on what different partners require. So we have Heckendorn and Shiles architects will advise on projects as far as renderings, drawings, structural support as needed. And I tried to pull some of their projects that were actually bridges. This was a pedestrian bridge. at Shire Pharmaceuticals. This was the University of Pennsylvania. This bridge kind of loops through West Philly. QVC headquarters. This is a bus, it's a transit center, a bus shelter. And then another collaborating partner with the studio is the lighting practice. And this is an underpass in 95 that they designed to light from below. When you're driving through it, it's different colors and different locations. It's very elegantly lit. They did Grand Central Station. They've done a lot of the places in Philadelphia, the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, that's the Rodin Museum, and the Avenue of the Arts. And I think that lighting combined with paint, artwork, architecture, what is there, it's as beautiful, if not more beautiful at night than it is during the day. So I think it can really bring vibrancy to a location. And here are projects where these partners have worked with me. This is the John Bon Jovi Soul Homes. And it's a very active corner, and it has a central stained glass light in the middle, and paint surround. We actually designed it into the side and the facade of the building. It has a very different feel during the day. It's a busy site that triangles into the center of the city. We worked with the architectural plans and renderings. There is glass on the second story, so we actually had the imagery printed within glass and then lit it at night. So at nighttime, in that top right-hand corner, it glows at night, and then when you're on the inside, you get the benefit of it from the day. This is all one site right in the middle of that busy intersection. This is called Wishing Wall, where there was a fountain element. It's backlit stained glass as well. Here's some close-ups of who is our mosaic artist here tonight, of our mosaic floor and the glass tiles. And the architectural renderings. This is what people saw before it was built, and then coming in to fruition. This is another lighting and architectural collaboration in a theater at New Mexico State University. Now, this was the orchestration of all orchestrations, getting these lights. They descend and raise before and after the performances. So the twilight sky and ceiling from above is sort of like the performance in the theater. You could see where we got the colors from for the inside of and I saw a couple of, I have not, since I am here on probably the one cloudy day of the year, I have heard about the beautiful sunrises and sunsets, which I'm hoping to see. And we incorporated that in hallways throughout the theater. And this is the architectural plan that Heckendorn and Childs did, trying to coordinate these lights getting within the new construction and the structure. And then we had to have them designed with the theatrical lighting, and you will get an idea of more of the process. Some of the final shots. And I think that when Mayor Wolcott was talking, and she said very eloquently, there is potential there for it to be both a symbolic intersection of communities and an actual intersection of communities. And I see it as such an opportunity to make a distinctive gateway piece. I think there's opportunity with paint. I think there's opportunity with light, perhaps some detailing of the bridge itself. It could be something that really distinguishes the city. That's how I see it, and that's why I was so excited to come here and explore this project with everyone. The other opportunity I think that I love whenever I come into a place is it can be a community growing experience. I love working in and within communities, with people, with other artists from the site. And as a process of the artwork getting created, I think people coming together to make something beautiful with their hands is a really beautiful thing, and it can make the world a better place and change the way it has potential for transformation within a community. So I think there's that aspect of the project that could be wonderful here, and I think there's also the physical, beautiful gateway at that intersection. That's a huge opportunity. So does anybody have any questions for me that they would like to ask?
Hi, Meg. I'm always interested in how you actually produce something to this scale, and by the way, it's just phenomenal what you do. You say you paint on cloth. How do you
Yes.
transpose that then onto the actual building, or is the cloth somehow embedded into the building after you've painted?
No, the cloth is basically a sheet of acrylic. It's almost like a sheet of bounce or Palon that you would have in a shirt batting, and it absorbs the paint. So it's a poly, it absorbs the paint, and then we squeegee it to the wall with clear paint with the acrylic. So it's an all acrylic process that it basically is one big layer of paint that slurps to the wall. So you're putting it up like wallpaper.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then last question, what is the longevity of the project or the paint being exposed to the elements and so forth without you having to go back in and touch it? I understand there's epoxy and stuff applied to the building to protect it, but what's the longevity of it?
That's a very good question. The longevity can be, depending on what what material you use, from 15 years to 100 years and beyond if it's maintained. The 100 years and beyond would be a chyme mineral-based paint that actually becomes part of the cement underneath. There are steps in between. Sheer krill is an architectural marine coating that's made for boat bottoms that is very good, and they're always top coated with a protective coating that cuts down UV. The good news is we have new construction here, right? So we're in control of what is under the paint. That's the biggest variable. Another thing that you need to protect the painting from once that you've got a sound paint structure is the fading in the sun. So here we would use only the paints that don't fade with the UV protected top coating, and we can get a quite decades of longevity with the paint. I just spoke last month at the Smithsonian on the restoration of murals, and the Omaha mural Fertile Ground was used as a best practice for exterior painting practices. So if it can be done, we're going to figure it out, and it is going to last. And I'm happy to say at this point in my career, we can get exterior paint to be permanent.
I've seen the one in Omaha. It's gorgeous.
Oh, you have? Oh, good. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, Meg.
Hi.
I'm Leo. I was just wondering if you've been given an idea of how many square feet this is going to cover, and the other question I have is the geometrics of this, because there's a bridge and there's going to be ramps coming off of it. What part of those structures would you envision decorating?
You know, we have been discussing it. We were at the site. We saw the walls. Now, if you put all the square footage together of the ramps, it's actually a bit more than Omaha. So you're up into the 40,000 square feet range. Would that be accurate? So if you painted every square inch of the side panels of the bridge, that's what you would have. I think we need to carefully look at the intersection and what happens on different sides of it, and what is meaningful, what places are we going to pack the most punch, what lighting is desired. So it's still to be decided, but I would think as much as we can. Yes?
So in other words, Meg, you would be doing both sides of the bridge and
Yeah, we were
ramps?
thinking the ramps and I'm thinking it could be a big object leading into the city. So all of there were actually 8 faces were we considering? Yes. And someone that came up today, and this is just from talking, and this is a type of collaboration that I love, is you were talking about, you know, what is the possibility, what if there were vantages where you actually would go, and it would encourage people to walk around that intersection, and perhaps the painting would come together at that one vantage, so you had it sighted, so different points, would it be in front of a business, would it be at the corner, where would you want to lead people, could it have a purpose that way? So all those opportunities we can explore, and there's a 3-dimensional model that I'll see tomorrow, which I think will help me begin that process, and it will have to be absolutely fleshed out before.
My question was, for one of the larger ones, what is your process as far as pulling together all the information from the community leading up to the painting time, then the painting time of the project? Just give us an overview of that, the research side, involving community members and then
Yes.
painting.
Well, they're customized depending on the different desires of the communities, but I can pick one out and tell you. Let's say the Omaha project, which is of comparable scale. I probably visited twice, had 2 artists from Omaha working on the ground, and started designing. Came back to Omaha to present. This is over probably 3 or 4 months. Came back to present, met with different people, altered, came back again, and then the design was approved. So we were there in Omaha for 9 months, a team of 8 painting that. Yes. The cost of that was about $450,000.
Meg, I know it's early in the process, but have you thought about what you're going to paint on the bridge?
No. Okay. Yes, of course I have, but I'm not going to just blurble out every dumb idea I've had, because that wouldn't be very smart, because then you guys would start getting worried. But one thing that I thought is this element, we were talking about the history today, and I do know that as many places as I do these, it could be done a project in Tanzania, done a project in Omaha, Boston, inner city. As many projects as I've done, no city has ever brought me the same content for a piece. You'd think that you would repeat or that, but each place is so unique. And I was thinking today, what is it, just trying to get a zone of, it's an artist's vision coming from the outside, what would be, and I did think today, what is interesting about Surprise is its raw potential that in some ways we could actually be defining during the discourse of the making of this work. Not that it would be a definition that would be held to, but it would be part of a process of discovering potential, moving into the future. And I loved that aspect today. It seemed very open. I mean, even the intersection, it's not like I'm coming to paint on a wall. Everything about it, it doesn't even exist yet. So it's just raw opportunity for creating something distinctive about a place that I have been drawn to so far. I would love to. And I would think, yes, sometimes it's complicated and complex, and it's got to be a good fit, and there's got to be a percentage of local artists and maybe someone who comes, but I would absolutely love to use as much as possible, because A, we want the artists here to be invested in this work. B, it's cheaper because they live here, you don't have to pay travel. C, you keep the money for the project within your own community. It's just a win-win if it works. And I love working with different people because there's always something transformative in the exchange. When we become like a band at the end of it, like the scraggly band of artist characters that people are trying to get away from by the end of the project, but we're having a great time.
So I have kind of a two-part question about like compatibility.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that the examples that were shown were in very urban environments. Maybe I'm mistaken, but quite urban, and we're urban, but we're not, inner city Philadelphia or something, and so how do you sort of balance that? I mean, I think some of these murals might look a little out of place, frankly.
They would.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you, make it a statement but subtle, and match the context in which we are living here in Surprise?
Yes, that's a good question.
And then can I just ask a follow-up, because I think it's kind of the
Sure.
same. So the follow-up is, have you done an intersection before or anything like this? And within that context of keeping it, it's not a building, it's along a, how do you do something that doesn't cause people to crash? You know what I mean? Like, and who needs to approve that design? So my question is about the compatibility of the public art in this particular location.
Yes. So part one, the compatibility of the art, that is one thing I'm proud of in my work, is that if you look at the work in Omaha, Nebraska, it looks very different from the work that is done in Center City, Philadelphia. And the key, I think, is that everything in the work comes from the actual site. And I love having that niche in public art. It's not me sitting in my studio thinking, what's gonna look good in Surprise, Arizona? It's what am I hearing? What am I seeing there? What is important and meaningful to the people who live there? So in that way, I think in Surprise, the piece of public art will look very much like Surprise because of the process. Yes. The second part of that was, have I ever done, have I ever done an intersection?
Right, and then so is ADOT part of that process, because they don't want, it to be a distraction and safety and those kinds of things?
You wanna?
I'll help her out a little because she just got on the project today, just got on today. And at this point, Meg is a consultant. She's here to work with ADOT and with the MAG Regional Council. By the way, the MAG Regional Council is the funder of the project, of the entire Bell Grand Interchange project, and ADOT is the one that actually implements the project. It is a federally funded project, but it is also a Prop 400 project. And so there are some complexities with procurement based on whether or not it's federal or Prop 400 money. So that is yet to be sorted out in terms of who the decision makers are. But that's one of the reasons why we need Meg here to kind of sit down with the agencies, and she will be meeting in a charrette with MAG and ADOT tomorrow, and she will be going downtown to MAG on Friday and meeting with their entire staff about this kind of thing. And I can tell you that MAG is really excited about doing something that's really out of the box and doing something different. And particularly because MAG has been very engaged with the Northwest Valley on the Grand Avenue, the Compass Study, and trying to define the specialness about Grand Avenue and what the potential is along Grand Avenue. So when they saw the potential of this particular project to define, to begin to lead the definition of that corridor, they got really excited and wanted her to be there. So we still have to work out the details of the decision makers, but ultimately at the end of the day, ADOT is building a bridge, and we, all of us, are building a public art project. So we are jointly working on that decision process.
And one thing I would recommend, just for having done this for a couple of decades, is when it comes time, your point is one, like, okay, so what if I decide I want to put up pig's butts or something? Who's going to say that doesn't look like surprise, right? I mean, I was just thinking of an obvious example. So that wasn't foul language, which I've already been called on today. So, okay, so I think that a model process should be defined before the project starts. If there is a public art, selection panel. I hate to say committee because it's not necessary. Sometimes the idea of committee or hacking it away at a design can hurt the integrity of the art. But a selection panel, and it could have representatives from government. It should have artistic representatives, I would believe, should have people who live and work right near it. So there would be stakeholders, maybe that are sort of separate from the inner workings of the process, that have feedback, and it would be defined before we start. And then there would be, is it 2, is it 3 revisions? We define that too and work toward a beautiful piece of work at that intersection.
We have a view of the overpass or a model or any drawing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
We don't have anything on hand today. Some of our staff have seen a small 3D model, and supposedly it's going to be brought to us tomorrow with our internal staff charrette to talk about just that visual, and it's going to give Meg a better way to be inspired by what she's seeing in this object. And that's a really important thing, to just have that 3D vision. She's seen drawings, she's seen vertical drawings, but they are computer generated. They're not that, they don't give you that full depth and understanding of how it sits. We sat at the project, we were at the site today and spent quite a bit of time just looking at the view and trying to imagine where the different components of the project will land and what views that different businesses could have, and we could see the potential. I want to address something that you asked about stopping a wreck from happening, because actually Meg's had experience with us in Philly, because the Department of Transportations typically have standards because they don't want to take responsibility for causing an accident, for example. And so it's one of those things that you have to work with some specific standards, but she's already had some experience in dealing with that in Philadelphia on a highway. But I would also remind you that there's a lot of public art throughout the valley on the interstates, on the 101, and some of it on the 101. Apparently, they had some experience over in Scottsdale when they did those lizards on the 101. You're familiar with that project? And apparently, when that first came up, it was slowing down traffic. Well, when traffic is normally traveling about 80 miles an hour on the 101, slowing down can cause an accident. The difference that we have here in the city of Surprise is that is a 45-mile-an-hour posted zone. So you're not going to have that level of speeds. And one of the things that we talked about at the intersection today was the opportunities, the viewshed opportunities. So maybe you could expand on that a little bit too, about the things that she still doesn't know what this object is going to look like. She still doesn't know the full layout of all the different viewpoints. And that's one of the things that we're going to get to tomorrow. But just in our imagination, we had sort of in the bus back, we had sort of an impromptu staff meeting in the driveway in the bus, and we're starting to vision the viewpoints and the opportunities. So could you expand on that a little bit too?
Yes. The other thing, when you were talking, I thought, you know, if you think of causing an accident, you're driving down the highway and you see image-changing LED boards that are up on the highway. I mean, these are boards that you have to read, you have to look at, you have to pay attention to, you have to, you know, so it's part of and at the same time, I should say, when you're thinking about it, you are designing for an intersection. So it's got to fit into the home that it's designed for. And I think some of the things that we were talking about today were the different, there's a pedestrian portion to that bridge. I mean, what if when you were walking over it, you could look down and see a piece of the art? What if, you know, if you were in a certain business or a parking lot that you wanted to draw people to the walking paths, you could hit, you know, if there's a corner and a couple of planes that come together, you could do something with so it would have to be carefully designed, and I also believe it would have to be carefully modeled so that the people who were looking at the designs understood what it was going to look like, which is going to be a trick, because we might have a styrofoam thing, but we don't have a three-dimensional digital model, which we might need to get. But I think those two things need to happen.
One of the opportunities for design too is I think you're going to have 3 tunnels on this thing. You're going to have a tunnel heading out of town, another tunnel heading into town on Grand. It's going to be one tunnel. Okay, and in the center of Grand, I thought there was going to be like ramps going up. Okay, but well, there's an opportunity for a lighting design inside the tunnel.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and it would be warm and welcoming rather than this oppressive cement structure that's coming on top of your intersection. You could make it like a sculpture. It's transform that. I totally agree with you. I think it's a big opportunity. And when I saw the designs too, I said, what's on the underneath? I'm thinking as you're driving under it and looking up, is there a play there? So I think that should all be explored, and it should be carefully cited. It's probably more important than the actual imagery that's on it, is how you activate that space, cite it, light it, create a gateway at that corner.
Wonderful, Meg, really. I can draw stick people, so I appreciate artists very much. So I have a question. Sharon probably wouldn't be able to, or Mayor Wolcott could answer this. It's going to be federally funded by MAG. What year is the project in MAG's big line of projects? That kind of gives an idea of the starting.
Martine is probably the best person to answer that question. So Martine, you want to come forward? Martine is our transportation expert here.
This project's actually started going underway. We've already started the planning process. It's already going to start to review to be able to go ahead and let out with with the actual proposal for getting a designer, and a contractor on board early next year. And so it is going to start early next year. And we're hoping that we're opening at the end of 17, year 17 for us. And so that's the easiest way of kind of understanding. Now, what happens between that 18 to 24-month window? That's still kind of up in the air on exactly how this timing is going to occur. But anywhere starting between the new year and hopefully we're driving on it at the end of 17. So we're at the beginning start point, where it's not really going to stop, hopefully. And, we're ready to go, and I think everybody else is on board ready to go. And so MAG has already committed to having this thing funded.
In terms of the Prop 400 funding, there was 3 projects. There were 3 projects that were contemplated in the Prop 400 vote in 2004, I believe it was. And the number 1 priority project was the Bell Grand Interchange. Right now, Martine, I think we're looking at a total budget of
Anywhere between 40 to 63 million.
Right. So that's kind of that. It's still not been worked out, but they're trying to do some value engineering to save. And in fact, some of that value engineering actually saved some more access points near the shopping center. So they've been working at trying to find different ways to save money. And we're still trying to work out just exactly how much of the budget then will be devoted towards the enhancements of the artwork. And you know that there's artwork on all of our highways, and they're typically imprinted concrete. And there may very well be an opportunity for Meg to dream of multiple different depths of the concrete as part of the design of the art piece itself. So we're still at the beginning points, but this is a great time to be able to bring all of you in together to hear about what can be something that is truly a community building project as well as a project that's building a community.
Meg, I have a question. In the previous projects that you've done, have you had any graffiti problems?
Once in 25 years. And this is in some neighborhoods where there's graffiti everywhere. So almost none.
Okay, thank you. And then a question for the mayor. This is going to be funded, federally funded. It's coming through MAG and it's coming through ADOT. And I'm nothing personal here, Meg, but has Meg been approved, or do they have to approve?
No, the project itself is still in the early beginnings. As I said at the beginning of the meeting tonight, Meg is here as a consultant, and so she is here in the early stages meeting with the MAG agency and with ADOT. This is the project, the construction of the bridge itself is federally funded. $1 in makes it a federally funded project. But it also was approved by the voters in Prop 400, which is the sales tax, the Maricopa County sales tax. So we're still working out the details with MAG on what portions of the project could be funded with that MAG bucket, the Prop 400 bucket, which would change the whole perspective on how you put together the team that designs and builds this project.
Have you seen the murals that were done down on Tucson on the freeway? And some of them are mosaics and some of them are painted and lots of cactuses. Was that generated by MAG and ADOT?
ADOT has actually, not MAG, because MAG is Maricopa County.
Okay.
And yes, I have seen some of those many of those projects. And in fact, today in our little impromptu staff meeting, some of our staff had mentioned some of those projects that MAG really needs to go investigate and see and talk about with ADOT, because in some of I think Tucson has probably the largest concentration of public art projects that are done on overpasses and bridges and the like. They have one of the coolest pedestrian overpasses, which is a lizard.
Right.
It's really, really neat. So they have done a lot of work with ADOT. So ADOT has experimented with public art projects already. So this is not like it's a brand new game for them. And they've learned some things that work and some things that don't work quite as well. So we do have the benefit of having a department that has had some of that experience and understands the importance of public art. It's just not, that I don't think that there's any single project in Tucson that even comes close to the magnitude of this particular project. So it's going to be an interesting challenge, and of course, how it's built can also challenge the artist as to how to construct the art component. And again, that all has to be worked out.
I actually like the experience and the history here of the cement stampings and a lot of the projects that I've seen. And I think there is a lot of experience here with this type of a site, and in collaboration with a public artist who's coming in with from the outside. I think those two components could be successful together and distinctive for this city. Yeah. The other thing I thought too, which we were talking about today, I think the hardest thing, and this is in the consulting capacity, the hardest thing is going to be the upfront timeline. With the more the artwork is integrated within the entire interchange plan, the better it's going to be, the higher caliber it can be, because it's going to be considered a lot. Rather than just being something that's stuck on at the end, it will be incorporated and integrated into that site. I think that it can really transform as an object in a space.
You may have mentioned this, and it may have passed me, but will there be a community process charrette related to the bridge design? I know early on there were some public meetings, some open houses for design and discussions related to the intersection, but related to the design itself, will there be any public charrettes or feedback?
Actually, Bill, that's already occurred. The design that was selected, and it was actually selected by the community. We did a rather massive survey of the community based on several designs, and I can give you a little bit of a history. Over, I believe it was 8 years, I believe there were 37 different drawings that were created by ADOT. And it kind of, most of those projects actually didn't fully address all of the challenges that are met at the Bell Grand Interchange. And most of them were not acceptable to MAG, who funds the project, because they did not fully meet all the criteria of the challenges at the Bell Grand Interchange. And so in 2012, we asked MAG, well, okay, let's take a different stab at it. And so we asked MAG to go and talk to a consultant who could come up with a different take. The biggest problem with the previous iterations that were developed at ADOT was that they consumed way too much right-of-way acquisition, and it would have been devastating to our business community. And so the challenge that we gave to MAG was, can we come up with a design that basically utilizes the existing footprint and does not close off so many driveways? And so ultimately what we came up with was the median urban design. We had then that compared to multiple other projects with ADOT. It then was reduced to, I believe, 12 different designs, then 8, then 4. And there were a number of public hearings, and the city itself did a massive public survey. I want to say we had 2,500 respondents to that survey, and the overwhelming choice was the median urban design, because again, it keeps the impact very, very minimal to the business community itself, and provides a solution to all of the challenges, and makes certain that all 8 moves at that interchange are performed on the facility itself and not off the facility. So now in terms of the art piece, this initial charrette that will be tomorrow will be a staff charrette to basically talk about the challenges of construction, integration of art, funding, all of those those pieces. But when it gets down to the process that whomever the artist managing project manager will be, that will ultimately end up in a process much like Meg has described, where it's involving all of you in the community in order to develop a truly authentic piece of public art that represents Surprise.
The other piece that I'm unclear of personally is there a rendering then of that final bridge design, just an artist's rendering on the MAG website or anywhere?
On ADOT's website, there is a design on the website. But again, it's an engineering drawing, and it's not particularly sexy.
Okay, so it's not an artist's rendering. Okay.
I want to, again, thank you all for being here. We have a very full schedule. Bless Meg's heart, she's been here and she's been at it since 10 o'clock this morning. And I saw her sinking into the chair, and so I know she's exhausted, but I know that she's had a very, very fruitful day for her first of 3 days that she'll be here in Surprise and in the Valley working with all the agencies. But again, I hope this is the first of many collaboration opportunities that we have with this group and others, because this group will grow once we begin to fully develop the art project itself. But wanted to make sure that you all were a part of this from the get-go, and were able to be able to say that you were there. So maybe there won't be a Meg Saligman signature on this public art piece, but your involvement is a signature in and of itself, and that's really important. I think that's her point, is making this yours. Really, really very important. So I want to thank you all again for participating this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.